Have you ever made a mistake in a moment of anger that you later regretted? It's a feeling we all know, a powerful reminder of how easily our emotions can cloud our judgment. Today, we're going to journey back in time to a distant kingdom and uncover a story that teaches us a profound lesson about wisdom, patience, and the incredible power of forgiveness. This is the tale of a young king, his wise mentor, and a simple jar that held an extraordinary secret. Long ago, a young king named David ascended to the throne at just 25. He was full of passion and fire, but like many of us at that age, he hadn't yet been tempered by the patient hand of wisdom. Fortunately, he had a guide. From his childhood, a wise mentor named Edward had been by his side, teaching him not just the politics of ruling, but the far more important lessons of kindness and understanding. After the old king passed, Edward became David's most trusted counselor. With his gentle guidance, the kingdom flourished. Peace reigned, the harvests were bountiful, and the people were happy. It was a golden age, a perfect picture of prosperity. But as we all know, perfection is often fleeting. One fateful year, a devastating famine swept across the land. It was a catastrophe born from a simple mistake, a flawed weather forecast for which Edward, the king's trusted advisor, was responsible. When King David learned of this, anger erupted within him like a volcano. He felt betrayed, let down by the one man he believed would never fail him. His rage was a wildfire, consuming all reason. Ignoring the pleas of his other counselors, the young king, blinded by his fury, made a decision that would haunt him for years. He banished Edward from the kingdom, forbidding him ever to return. Edward, standing before his king, the boy he had raised, did not argue or defend himself. He simply bowed his head, his voice soft but clear. "My king, there are lessons that only time can teach." With those final prophetic words, he turned and walked away, his heart heavy with a sorrow deeper than any famine. He journeyed to the farthest corners of the realm, eventually settling in a small, quiet village. There, the once powerful counselor chose the simple life of a humble farmer. He worked the earth, his hands calloused, his spirit at peace. Though he had lost his title, he had not lost his wisdom. The villagers soon recognized the gentle strength within him, and they came to him for advice on everything, from mending fences to mending families. Edward, in his quiet way, became the heart of his new community. Meanwhile, back in the grand cold palace, King David was beginning to feel the immense void left by his old mentor. Ruling a kingdom, he quickly discovered, was far more than issuing commands. Complex problems, diplomatic tangles, and difficult judgments piled up on his desk, and without Edward's wisdom to light the way, he felt lost in a fog of confusion and doubt. The nights were the worst. He would lie awake, the silence of his chambers echoing with the memory of his own angry words. Guilt was a constant, unwelcome guest. He had let his anger triumph over his reason, and in doing so, he had driven away the very person who could have helped him navigate the storm. One sleepless night, David made a decision. He had to find Edward. He had to apologize and bring him back. But where could he be? The kingdom was vast, a sprawling tapestry of towns and villages. He sent out messengers, knights, and spies, but weeks of searching turned up nothing. It was as if Edward had vanished from the earth. Just as despair began to set in, David remembered one of Edward's old lessons, a phrase that had once seemed like a simple proverb. If you wish to find wisdom, let wisdom reveal itself. Suddenly, an idea sparked in the king's mind, a brilliant, unconventional plan. He summoned his scribes and messengers with a new, peculiar order. A clay jar and a royal letter were to be delivered to every single village in the land. The letter contained a strange and impossible challenge. It read, "Within 1 month, you must return this jar to me, filled to the brim with wisdom. If you fail, your village must pay a tribute of its most precious jewels." The royal decree spread like wildfire, and with it, a wave of panic. How could anyone fill a jar with an abstract concept like wisdom? In the village where Edward lived, the people were terrified. They clutched the letter and the empty jar, their faces pale with fear. They rushed to the humble farmer they had come to trust. "Please, wise Edward, you must help us," they pleaded. "The king demands the impossible. How can we fill a jar with wisdom?" Edward looked at the frightened faces around him, a gentle, reassuring smile on his lips. "Bring me the jar," he said calmly. "I don't yet know what to do, but as I've always told you, time will surely reveal the answer." The next morning, as Edward was tending his small garden, his eyes fell upon a young pumpkin vine sprouting near the fence. As he looked at the tiny nascent fruit, a thought blossomed in his mind, as fresh and green as the vine itself. He took the king's clay jar and carefully, gently, placed the tiny pumpkin inside it, making sure it remained attached to its life-giving vine. Day after day, he watered it, nurtured it, and protected it from the elements. As the days turned into weeks, the pumpkin grew. It swelled steadily, pushing against the smooth, curved walls of the jar, until it had filled every inch of the space within. When it could grow no larger, Edward carefully cut the vine. The impossible task was complete. He sent the jar back to the palace, a silent message for his king. When the jar arrived at the palace, King David was utterly astonished. He peered inside and saw a magnificent, golden pumpkin, grown so perfectly that it filled the container completely. It was impossible to remove it without shattering the jar. In that moment, the king understood everything. The puzzle wasn't about finding a physical substance called wisdom. It was a test of cleverness, of patience, of thinking outside the box. Only a truly wise person could have devised such an elegant and profound solution. A single name echoed in his heart. No one but Edward could have done this, David whispered, his eyes filling with tears of relief and regret. He didn't send a messenger or a royal guard. This was a journey he had to make himself. Without a moment's hesitation, the king set out, following the trail of the mysterious jar back to its source. When he finally arrived at the small, humble village, he saw his old mentor, dressed as a simple farmer, tending his garden. The sight of him, so peaceful and content, broke through the last of the king's pride. David dismounted and knelt before the old man. "Teacher," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I was wrong. I let anger blind me. I drove away the person I needed most, and I am so sorry." Edward looked down at the young king, not with triumph, but with warmth and compassion. He gently lifted him to his feet. "My king," he said with a kind smile, "only those who feel remorse can truly grow. The past is behind us. Remember this lesson. Calmness is the key that unlocks the door to wisdom." From that day forward, King David was a changed man. He ruled not with passion alone, but with the patience and compassion he had learned through his painful mistake. With Edward once again by his side, the kingdom entered a new era of prosperity, and their bond, forged in fire and forgiveness, became stronger than ever before. The story of the Jar of Wisdom was told and retold throughout the land, a timeless reminder for generations to come that true strength isn't found in power or position, but in patience, humility, and the wisdom to admit when we are wrong. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tales that inspire and enlighten. We'll see you in the next video.